Good, happy Friday, January 29, 2021. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Friday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Friday evening, so let's begin. First up, we're going to begin with your COVID-19 updates. COVID-19 in New Hampshire, what you need to know. Let's take a look at that right now. And here is a look at that information for all of you right now. There are 64,258 number of people in New Hampshire have tested positive for COVID-19. 25,686,826 number of people in the United States have tested positive. 1,022 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 222 current number of hospitalizations for COVID-19 in New Hampshire. And 431,289 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. And now let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where current cases of COVID-19 are. In Manchester, 498. And let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where total cases of COVID-19 are. Manchester, 8,614. And let's take a look at these three charts here. Let's start with the first chart here. New cases each day in New Hampshire in the purple. Daily new positive COVID-19 cases. Orange, new hospitalization. And red, deaths. Let's take a look at this chart here. Current cases in the purple. Total current COVID-19 cases. Orange, current hospitalization. Let's take a look at this chart here. Total cases in the purple. Total positive COVID-19 cases. Orange, total hospitalization. Red, deaths. And blue, recovered. And let's take a look at this chart here. Positive PCR test rate. Positive PCR and antigen test rate. And daily PCR test. Let's take a look at this chart here. Age group cases and female and male of cases. And let's take a look at this chart here. Infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. And let's take a look at this chart here. Deaths, percent of New Hampshire population, race/ethnicity of cases, and hospitalizations. And a reminder, common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, chills, difficult breathing, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. How it spreads, and prevention tips. And be sure to stay with the Riley King Network for the latest of your COVID-19 information. Workers try to bring homeless granite staters inside as frigid air moves in. Some options not available because of pandemic. Let's take a listen to that video from WR News 9.
New Hampshire Chronicle, now in its 20th season. Watch new episodes weeknights at 7 on WMUR.
This is the times where there are losses of loss of life.
With wind chills hitting below zero around New Hampshire, those who work with the homeless are doing their best to make sure they are staying warm. In Manchester, outreach teams are visiting encampments.
The only difference is that the fire department's fatality prevention team is joining us and letting people know about the cold weather.
In Concord, there is a new shelter and beds are available. But the concern is finding places for people to stay warm during the day, as many traditional options are not available in the pandemic.
Such as the library or even, a restaurant or a fast food place, they're not open. Or if they are open, it's very limited. Come in, get what you need, and go.
Ellen Grove believes some are hesitating to come to the shelter because of COVID, and trying to get people vaccinated is difficult, as many of the clients don't have doctors or transportation.
So even if they are over 65 or have two of the comorbidities going on, they don't have easy access to get the vaccines.
That's a view echoed by others who work with the homeless, who say shelters are at best a Band-Aid, and what's really needed are permanent solutions.
The biggest thing that gets missed in all of this is the lack of affordable housing.
The good news is that both Manchester and Concord do have beds available, and they say additional resources are obtainable if shelters hit capacity. In Manchester, Ray Brewer, WMUR News Now.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Popular Deerfield gift shop store destroyed in fire. Crews deal with sub-zero wind chills during the fire fight. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Over the past year, our local New Hampshire businesses have shown amazing resiliency. They've gone the extra mile to do whatever.
We start with some breaking news out of Deerfield. Crews are on the scene of a large house fire on North Road there. The call came in around 7:30 this morning and quickly went to 2 alarms. Police officers helped the residents who were in the building at the time. They are being treated at the scene for smoke inhalation. The house, as you can see, is a total loss. No word yet on a cause. Again, though, crews are on the scene of a large house fire in Deerfield in those freezing temperatures this morning.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. One dead after fire in Northumberland, officials say. Building now considered extremely composed, officials say. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
With the Bank of America Cash Rewards credit card, Preferred Rewards members can earn up to 5.25% cash back on online shopping, making the essentials even more rewarding.
Okay, this is video footage of that fire in Northumberland, as you can see. Intense flames, it looks like. One person is dead after a fire at a residential building in Northumberland. The fire at 89 Old Village Road was reported at 6:12 a.m. One person escaped the fire and was transported to a local hospital as a precaution, Deputy State Fire Marshal Keith said. The cause of the fire and origin of the fire at the 2.5-story building is unknown. First arriving crews said the building was heavily ablaze. The building is now extremely composed. The fire was put out before noon. The investigation is ongoing. Exeter blaze destroys garage, 2 vehicles. Firefighters from Exeter and several communities braved bittering winds and temperatures in single digits while battling 2-alarm fire that destroyed a garage and 2 vehicles early Friday morning. Dow drops more than 600 points Friday, suffers worst week since October, and GameStop trading frenzy. U.S. stocks fell sharply on Friday, wrapping up a roller coaster week on Wall Street as heightened speculative trading by retail investors continued to unveer the market. And let's take a look at that U.S. stock market right now and see how it closed. And here's a check of that U.S. stock market. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the red one down. Nasdaq closed in the red one down. S&P 500 closed in the red one down. Gold closed in green one up. Oil closed in the red one down. U.S. 10-year closed flat. Euro/USD closed in the green one up. And VIX closed in the green and one up. Johnson & Johnson vaccine highly effective. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
breaking news on the vaccine front. Johnson & Johnson has just released its phase 3 vaccine trial information. It is promising. The vaccine is effective even against the troubling South African variant. Dr. Ash is going to join us in a moment. First, take a look at what one of the company's top executives said.
So this is probably the single most exciting result in our entire clinical study, that we have 85% protection against severe COVID, irrespective of where in the world you're talking about and what kind of variant you're talking about. Even if you were to contract COVID on this vaccine, you have a much milder course.
That is some good news right there. Dr. Jen Ashing here to break it all down. What more can you tell us?
George, here is the data, and I just got off the phone with Dr. Momen, so I want to go through the numbers with people because it is encouraging news from Johnson & Johnson. First, overall, 66% effective in reducing the risk of moderate to severe COVID-19 disease. Overall, 85% effective in reducing the risk just of severe disease. And these are people who don't require hospitalization, just very severely ill. And then, George, 100% effectiveness in terms of reducing the risk of hospitalization and death. When they looked at it in South Africa, they saw a 57% efficacy rate, where 95% of the cases were in people with that variant that we are watching so closely and so concerned about.
Boy, that is great news. This is just a layperson's question, and maybe I'm misremembering some of it. But some of the earlier vaccines, weren't they in the 90s on effectiveness overall?
The number here, I'm glad you asked that, George, to compare apples to apples, 66% overall efficacy versus 94 to 95% efficacy with Pfizer and Moderna. But I want to be crystal clear in speaking to public health officials and infectious disease specialists in a pandemic setting. You do not need to have 94, 95% efficacy to slow this virus. And remember, we heard Dr. Fauci and Dr. Hahn, previous commissioner of the FDA, accept a basement level of just 50% efficacy. So these are good numbers.
So that is still good numbers. When can we expect the vaccine to be authorized?
Well, they plan to submit their data to the FDA at the end of next week. They'll take a couple of weeks before that hearing. It may receive emergency use authorization then in a couple of weeks, and shots can start going into people's arms by the end of February. We have to remember this is a single dose regimen that does not require fancy refrigeration or freezing. So logistically, this would be a huge tool in our toolbox.
So what's your advice to people looking to get the most effective vaccine?
I think don't get bogged down on numbers, George. We need options, and we need as many options as we can get at this point. So I think the name of the game is get a vaccine as soon as it's possible for you.
Dr. Jen Ashing, thanks very much.
Well, hey there, Jim.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this Friday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Have a great rest of your Friday evening. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and goodbye, everyone, and stay warm.